everyone see my slides?
Yes. Yes.
Yeah, excellent. Okay, if I move on to the first slide, and as Mike says, we're going to spend some time first of all talking about the overall set of reports that we presented to Parliament a couple of weeks ago, and give you a sense of the overall message that we're giving to Parliament at this point. And then we're going to break down into the individual components, first of all with our Chief Economist, Adrian Galt, who will give an overview of the mitigation progress report about progress towards our carbon reduction targets. And then I'll spend a few moments talking about the adaptation key messages before we have our first break. And then we thought we'd take our the adaptation progress report in bite-sized chunks, looking at 2 chapters together. Each of these chapters are kind of related to each other, so we talk about the National Adaptation Programme overall, and of course, and the role of local government to obviously are so key to delivery of the National Adaptation Programme in so many respects. We'll talk about the built environment and healthy and resilient communities together, because again, the way in which climate change will impact on people largely depends on the built environment, the homes we live in, the cities we spend our time in. And after lunch, we'll talk about natural environment and agriculture and forestry, again with very common issues relating to water scarcity, to depletion of natural resources, common in both areas. And finally, we'll talk about infrastructure and business. But before we get into the detail, I just wanted to kind of set the scene really. Obviously, 2015 is a very important year for climate change action, not just here in the UK, but internationally, building up to the Paris Conference of the Parties, beginning at the end of November and into December. And the Committee on Climate Change wanted to use this opportunity in the road to Paris, and also presenting its report shortly after the general election to the incoming government, to the new Parliament, to set a series of high-level priorities for the government in taking forward action in the UK. Obviously, climate change is a long-term process. Progress needs to be made over the course of many decades, but the new government has a unique opportunity to set the scale of ambition and the direction, not just for the coming years, but for the range of this decade, but largely it will determine how much progress is made through the 2020s, because many of the policies that are in place now are due to expire, and their replacement policies will, determine whether or not momentum is maintained or pace is increased, and we set out in which areas we think action should be taken first. All the reports, first of all, are published on the Committee on Climate Change's website, and hopefully links have been sent round. And just to explain the format of the report, if I hold up the first report you'll come across, which is a 25-page or so summary, both of carbon reduction and climate change adaptation. So it's our summary, executive summary for covering both topics. Part 2, or Volume 2, is the mitigation report, which has a pale blue cover, which hopefully you've seen. And finally, the report probably we'll spend most time talking about today is the green cover, which has the adaptation progress report in detail. That's all I wanted to say, just in terms of an overview. We're grateful for this opportunity to explain what we've found to the audience. And very grateful for Climate UK's help in helping us get that message out and around the country. I'll leave it there, and if I could now introduce the Committee on Climate Change's Chief Economist, Adrian Galt, who will be taking us through the mitigation progress report.